My name is Matt, and I review retro games. Like anyone who's into gaming on YouTube, I'm a huge fan of the Angry Video Game Nerd, and he's one of my biggest influences. But unlike a number of his audience, I enjoy a number of those turds he rips apart, and that's why I now don the moniker of the LJN Defender! Happy New Year, everybody! It's 2014 and time for the LJN Defender to come back bigger and better than ever! If you've seen the first two installments, you know that I've already tackled two of the most despised LJN offerings that have been featured on the Nerd, so I figured this time I'd actually take a break from that and actually talk about a title that hasn't been featured on an AVGN episode. I know it's hard to believe, but there are actually some of them out there. So I thought long and hard about it, thought about all my possible options. I didn't want to go too obscure so that nobody would care, but I didn't want to actually yet feature something that I know will be featured on an AVGN episode in time. I'm looking at you, Beetlejuice. But for now, the one that is the feature of this episode is The Punisher!
Yes, The Punisher, who dates all the way back to the mid-1970s, is Marvel Comics' resident badass. As far as gritty and dark backstories go, it doesn't get much more bleak than the Punisher's. Frank Castle was a proud country-serving member of the Marines until shortly after his stint in Vietnam, Frank's wife and daughter were brutally gunned down by the Mafia after witnessing an execution. Castle survived the attack, and from that day forward, he donned the mantle of the Punisher and dealt out vigilante justice to anyone who terrorizes the innocent.
For all intents and purposes, the Punisher is really just a normal guy. I mean, he's trained from the Marines, so he's a little stronger, and he has more combat prowess, but really, he's just a normal guy. He doesn't have adamantium claws, or healing factor, or spider senses, or anything like that. He's just a guy with lots of guns. But that's what makes him awesome. He's got a huge arsenal of guns and bombs and grenades and everything like that. Spider-Man doesn't have that. Wolverine doesn't have that. Silver Surfer doesn't have that. And he'll kill anybody who's gone against the law. Those guys won't do that. And, you know, for being a non-superpowered Marvel superhero, if you want to call him a superhero, he's done quite a number of feats. I mean, he's gone toe-to-toe with Wolverine and Captain America, Ghost Rider, the Hulk. Punisher's pretty damn awesome, isn't he?
With its graphically adult-natured themes, the Punisher was never going to be marketed to kiddies like the famous Webhead, but that didn't stop him from being featured in a number of the animated series, nor did it prevent Punisher toys and, of course, video games from being released.
This is the very first video game that was released based on the Punisher franchise. It came out in 1990 and was developed by Beam Software. You know, those guys who brought us Back to the Future for LJN? They actually worked on a number of the LJN titles. Now, with a character like the Punisher, you think there would be plenty of material to make a pretty great NES game, right?
The Punisher NES game completely glosses over the character's horrific history, and any setup at all for that matter. The only bits of story that I encountered were in the pre-level briefings, where Frank talks to, I don't know who, about the scumbag that he needs to take down, and how he's gonna mutilate them in the most heinous way possible. Of course, as it's been said time and again, NES games aren't novels. They're not supposed to have elaborate narratives, so it really can't be faulted for this. What matters is the gameplay, and the Punisher doesn't disappoint in this department.
The closest thing I could compare Punisher NES to is the Taito arcade game Cabal, later ported to the NES in 1988 by, Milton Bradley. Hey, look at that!
While both games involve the character moving back and forth across a single plane, Cabal's environment was static, whereas the Punisher has a horizontal scrolling background. Both games have the same objective though: blast the hell out of everything on the screen! Except the saxophonist. Don't shoot him. I know it's tempting. Oh, is it tempting. But just don't. On the other hand, if you're a sick bastard like me who wants to see what it looks like and don't care about becoming Lucifer's pitchfork practice, here it is. Simply hilarious! That's what you get for polluting the air with brassy noise!
Yeah, you get that guy. No, wait a minute. No! No! Don't kill the saxophone guy. Don't. No matter what you do, it may be really fun, but just resist. Don't do it. Wanna know why? Because Beam Software, in all of their wisdom, has decided that the Punisher should be a goody-goody two-shoes and not kill innocent people. If you kill the really good guys, you know what happens? You lose health. And I'm not talking about just a little sliver of health. No. This is a significant portion of health. So, in this game, which is brutally hard as it is, it doesn't pay to kill the saxophonist as much as you want to. As much as his tinny, dissonant sound can get on everybody's nerves, let him be. Let him pass. Go right by him. You know, they just want to kill all the fun. They want to be buzzkills. Stupid Beam Software. You know what? They're not above self-promotion. I mean, look, their logo's all over the damn game. Beam Software here, Beam Software there. But as soon as we want to have a little bit of fun and kill ourselves a saxophonist, no, that's not good. You know, I mean, it could secretly be that he's a bad guy. You never know. He could be in charge of some meth lab, you know? I mean, you're just not allowing us to explore the alternatives, you know? I mean, what if he's a pedophile? What if he's molesting children? You never know. If Frank Castle would actually be doing a service by killing the saxophonist. I mean, come on, let us do it. Let us try to investigate. But no, Beam Software sees things just in black and white, not in gray. Stupid Beam Software.
Getting back to the topic at hand, there are 3 stages to select from at the beginning, each of which featuring key members from the Punisher's roster of villains. It doesn't really matter which is chosen, but from personal experience, I believe that moving from left to right increases the difficulty. For the player looking for the most challenge from the start off with the third option. Regardless of which level you choose, they all have the same general layout. The player controls the anti-hero in the foreground, as scads of heavily armed henchmen constantly unload on Castle in order to take down the vigilante. The control scheme is simple, yet satisfying. A fires Castle's many guns, and B controls the secondary weapons, grenades being the initial offering. Like in Cabal, moving the character and the cursor are both performed via the D-pad, and holding A and pressing one of the directions will place the heroes in a stationary standing pose and focus completely on the cursor. While Cabal gave the commando the benefit of structures to hide behind to evade enemy fire, temporary as they may be, the Punisher has nothing of the sort.
Poor Frank Castle. At least the Cabal guy has structures to stand behind. I mean, I know they get reduced to rubble within a couple minutes, but Frank has nothing. He's completely out there. Any bullets that come his way, blam, blam, he could get hit. You know, unless you move out of the way, because you can't duck, you can't dive out of the way, you can't do any kind of evasive maneuvers. You can either move to the right or move to the left. And he's not like he's a marathon runner or anything. He's not a sprinter. I mean, he doesn't move very fast. Most of the time, it can be really, really hard to avoid the gunfire. Believe me, I played the game for about 2.5 hours. And it's just really hard. I mean, poor Frank. That's all I gotta say. Poor Frank.
Frank's not a complete babe in the woods, though. He's got more than enough ammo to send these pricks to eternal damnation. Extra weapons and ammunition for them can be found in crates, boxes, and other background scenery.
This game lets you totally John Rambo all out over the place. Ammunition's everywhere, and even when you run out of ammunition, you're still down to 1. You always have 1. It just brings you down to a single shot like a lot of other games out there do. You never run out of ammo. And ammo's in every crate, every box, every shoot out all the windows, whatever. Ammo is everywhere. And you even get weapon upgrades, too. You get better machine guns and rifles. And eventually you even get things like a rocket launcher. Yeah, you get a rocket launcher! How freaking cool is that? You just Yeah, this game's awesome.
At certain spots over the course of a level, newspapers will appear. Shoot them and they will give you helpful hints, the most useful informing about the bonus rounds. As you continue to shoot at everything, minus Saxophone Sam, sooner or later the entrance for the bonus world should pop up. This segment will offer a number of health, ammo, armor, and sometimes life upgrades. It's very beneficial to take advantage of these sections, that is, if you can find them. I'm sure there's a guide online that shows where every bonus area is located, but that would be too easy. My advice is to just shoot every building, every window, every door, everything in the background. Even try hitting those Beam Software billboards. I wouldn't be surprised at all if there was one hiding there.
Say what you will about LJN, but even for the weakest of their offerings, the strongest point is usually the soundtrack, especially if one of the phones is involved. But I'll get to that more at a later time. As far as the Punisher goes, what you'll notice is that there really isn't much of a soundtrack. There's maybe 4 different themes throughout the whole game. There's the one on the title screen, there's one on the level select screen, which is usually replayed during the boss fights. There's one before the levels, the briefing scenes. I think that's pretty much it as far as I've encountered. So the tunes are alright. They're decent. I mean, they fit. They're kind of dark and, you know, gritty. They fit the Punisher theme well enough. But I mean, I don't know. There should have been more, really. Though I will give it to them. I can kind of see why they did it, because the lack of the soundtrack kind of makes it feel more realistic, if you will, because there's probably not going to be music blaring, like metal music playing during a gunfight, so I guess that kind of adds the realism value to it. So I'm cutting positive and negative when it comes to that. So, but overall, I think it's a little too empty, really. I think it could use a couple more good songs. But I'm not going to hold that against the game. They're still good for what they are.
If you manage to survive the bullet hell for 2 parts, the third and final one involves eliminating the big baddies. The Hitman erratically pilots a helicopter back and forth while shooting machine guns and lobbing grenades, and Klieg mans a tank with a turret gun that deals massive damage. My favorite boss fights are Jigsaw and Sijo. Things start out regularly enough, with each tossing projectiles of various kinds, but before you know it, they leap into the foreground and engage the ex-Marine in fisticuffs Punch-Out style! I was totally not expecting this the first time it happened, and quickly got my ass handed to me. Attacks in this part seem to only do about 1/3 of the damage that the bosses inflict, so what did I do to get around this? I just moved away from them. Eventually they will return to their previous post, and that's the time to send streams of hot lead and grenades their way. The lesson to be learned here is, don't belittle Mac. It's not worth it to spar in the squared circle with these brutes. Embrace your inner maniac and blow their heads off! Once the thread is terminated, it's back to the stage select screen. Rinse and repeat.
To the best of my knowledge, that really is the way it stays for the whole game. Because, well, I was only able to beat 2 of the levels, of the 6 I believe there are, because this game is punishingly difficult, which is fitting because it's called The Punisher. So, because all these guys are shooting at you everywhere, you have 5 lives. Granted, you can get health pickups pretty easily, but still, that doesn't make it any less easy. It's still very hard. So, I don't know. I mean, I could try to beat this someday, but I was just having a hell of a time. Because you're bombarded upon by all these guys, bullets are everywhere flying towards you. I do know that the Kingpin, Wilson Fisk, I know that he's the last boss. So I bet it's a good boss fight, but if I ever get there, I'll know what it's like. But right now, I don't. Because like I said, punishingly, brutally difficult. That's about all you can say about The Punisher. Good game, though. Very good game. But man, is it hard.
As hard as it is for me to say this, The Punisher is easily the best LJN NES game based on a Marvel property. The playstyle perfectly lines up with what anyone would imagine for a gruesome Punisher title. The only real criticisms I have of it are its overall lack of music, which is also in my positive column, and the difficulty. 2 negatives do not make a bad game, and the Punisher is certainly not that at all. To anyone out there who thinks they know all they need to about LJN from the AVGN, give this a chance. Games like this are one of the main reasons I'm glad I started the LJN Defender. Underneath the Bill and Ted's and Beetlejuices are a few like this that are waiting to be discovered to prove that LJN did not completely release crappy tie-in products.
So that's it for LJN Defender number 3. Hope you enjoyed it. I did, making it, but then again, I always do. So, let me know what you think about The Punisher. I think it's a pretty good game. You might think so, you might not. I mean, but hey, at least it's an LJN game that some of you out there might not have ever heard of, because James hasn't covered it yet, which, you know, he might, I mean, but I don't think it's bad enough for him to cover. So I don't know if I'll ever see James doing an AVGN on this, but I'd love to see it if he does, but I don't see it happening, really. You should definitely pick it up if you can, at least give it a shot, at least once. As far as I know, I think it can be found for $10 even on eBay, maybe 12 at most. It's not uncommon or anything, it's not rare, so give it a go. I mean, it's fun, it's a decent little rail shooter, you know. As far as LJN Defender number 4, I think it's gonna be just, it's not gonna be next video, though. Hold on. I think the next video is actually gonna be a Cygnus Destroyers retro review, okay? So, because it's been since November, since the 1-year anniversary since I've done one of those. So I think it's about time that I go back to it. And I actually teased, and I'm sure not all of you saw my outtake series of videos, but if you did, in one of the last ones, I actually teased about one of my future video plans for Cygnus Destroyers Retro Reviews, and I actually think that's the next one I'm going to do. So for those of you who didn't see it, let's go to it now. I was cracking because I'm sick still. Forgive the cracking. Cracking voice. Review on this thing. I got this here. Got a TurboGrafx. First time ever owning a TurboGrafx. First time ever playing a TurboGrafx. Look for a Cygnus Destroyer Retro Review. Maybe not on the system itself, but probably on one of the games that I got. Maybe even Keith Courage, you know, that'd be a good sickness, recovery from, so there you go. Look for something in Cygnus Destroyers Retro Reviews on the TurboGrafx. Like I said, LJN Defender number 4 will definitely be the one after that, so rest assured, all of you people who came to me from LJN Defender know that LJN Defender's not going anywhere. I mean, I've got enough here that I could do LJN Defender for quite a long time. As always, if you want to get in contact with me, well, of course, you can always hit me up on YouTube. Leave a comment in the comments below. Send me a message in my inbox. Or if you want to do the social media thing, Twitter at Cygnus Destroyer. Facebook.com/Cygnus Destroyer. You can always hit me up there. Follow me over to Cygnus Destroyers Retro Reviews if you want to. I'm not going to force you, of course, but if you want to, I'm still the same guy over there. If you like me, I mean, if you hate me, you can hate me over there too. It's up to you, you know. But yeah, I'm going to go over there, and every once in a while, I'm going to do a Cygnus Destroyer Retro Review, because that's the original series, you know, and I'll always love doing that. So, I mean, I love doing them both, but and this way, it makes it, even though they would last a while, this will still prolong the LJN Defender. Once again, Happy New Year, even though we're a bit into it now. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time on the LJN Defender! And Cygnus Destroyers Retro Reviews, please. Bye!